We are, what is it, about 10 lines from the top on Tezayin. The line starts with the word Masha Ha'odin Yisaneg V'zeh. And we were explaining very, very subtle inyan that even at the greatest degree of dedication, of complete, so to speak, self-effacement, self-modification, where the entire inspiration and purpose is totally dedicated to the master, like an Eved. We explained that an Eved on his own does not really relate to his own humanity. And to him to have a home doesn't mean anything. And we can understand it, we can project it. If he had that sense, he wouldn't be able to survive too long, of completely ignoring his essential quality, completely being an avid, doing whatever he is told to do. And the Gemara says, "Odom she'le Beis einay Odom." And if the avid is able to perform as an avid, means that he is not relating to that principle, that human principle that a human being has to have a Beis. Nishtake einay Odom, einay Odom. And he's doing the work not as an Odom. He's doing the work because of the Odom. Yet still, this thing that Einay Odom, this is something which, again, you have to understand the subtleties of this. This thing that Einay Odom is only the spirit of Odom is what's missing. But the capabilities of Odom are all there. He still has Seichel, still knows how to build a house, and still knows that he's building a house. It's not just laying bricks. Except that the inspiration for the house does not come from his own nefesh. It comes from the other. The significance of that house comes from the other. And this is where the whole union of the Hidur comes in. He's Mahadir, he's making a beautiful home, but he doesn't know what a home is. How does he relate? How does he sense that this is beautifying it? He senses beautifying it because he's looking at it from the Odin's perspective.
From the master's perspective.
From the master's perspective. Because the master is what inspires him and gives him that, and then the seichel is able to identify it. This is further clarifying to us the inyan that there is pnimius haseichel and there is chitzonius haseichel. Chitzonius haseichel does not speak for what an Odom is, what a human being is. It is the pnimius haseichel. Now, I'm able to know what the master wants. He is able to do it, even though he doesn't sense his own human insight, human quality. Any other.
That's the Panemius Seichel. Even though he cannot recognize his own quality, he can recognize the master. Yes, I'm sorry, I just want to...
No. What makes He said, even though he is not Adam, yet he understands what the house is, which is Chitzenis HaSeichel. Because he doesn't have the Pnimius HaSeichel. He just points out that Chitzenis HaSeichel does not constitute a human being. What constitutes a human being is the Pnimius HaSeichel. Where the Seichel comes from, what is the basis, the spirit behind the Seichel. That spirit, in this case, the Eved gets not from his own Seichel, but from the master.
So his Pnimius Seichel comes from the master.
His Pnimius comes from the master. He doesn't really have his own. But he has the whole Seichel to understand what this, that does not constitute what a human being is. Even at that level. This is, so to speak, manifest clearly, shows. People are confused and say, oh, these animals are so smart. These smart is insignificant. Chitzenis HaSeichel is not significant, does not speak for the spirit. Even at that level where he understands real nuances of Chitzenis HaSeichel. What's beauty? And yet still, it doesn't make him into an Adam. He's still an Eved. Nevertheless, this is what we're saying. Nevertheless, he too, as a result of this association with the master, he is experiencing an Inyan of a true human quality. Even though it doesn't come from him. But he's experiencing a true human quality. This is the oinik that he has in appreciating what a home is. And because of that appreciation, he is able to know and to bring hidur into it. Okay? Okay, so now we continue. Masha Odin Yisanik Bazel Mishum Mehadir. He has tainuk from the fact that the Odin is going to be misanig in this. He himself does not have that type of oinik. But he's misanig from the fact that only is misanig mehadir, and because of this oinik, he is mehadir. He beautifies it. The similar Inyan is found in Avodah. Avodah is Hashem. Dim heyois. That although the Shohavei the Hiletzer Goveya Kaviyochel, that the whole Avodah is Letzer Goveya, is for the sake of Goveya, so to speak, because of the Rotzen Ho'elye, because the Eibishter wants it, the Eibishter needs it. Letzer Goveya. Because Milamailo there is this rotzing, or this kavona, that it should be a likus lemato. And he is dedicated to this for the fact that Milo, there is this desire. Nonetheless, yesh bozer taino godel. There is within this avoida the experience of the Yid who is doing the avoida. There is a great tainuk. Where does he get the tainuk? He is completely nullified himself. Meha tainuk shalamaylo. It is from the tainuk that is lamaylo. Now we need to connect these ends. He is totally dedicated, totally self-nullified. He is, in simple terms, totally obedient. the rotzen, the kavana elyeina. And then he begins to feel tainuk, which is the richest type of experience one can have. From tainuk shalamayla. What does he know about the tainuk shalamayla? So this is the Iyar that we're constantly pointing out. This shuv follows a rotzu. Where in the rotzu he identified that atzmus, that is the real truth. This is the only thing that's worth pursuing, and this is what he really wants. That which is totally remote and removed, royamus, removed from worldly definitions. The original truth. Motzu rishin. Amitis imotzu. This is what he wants. Not the way it's manifest in the world, but the way it is l'malach in the world. The real motzu rishin. This is what he identified as the truth that he is pursuing. Why did he identify it as the truth? Because this is the truth. This is really worth pursuing. This is this is reality itself. Having identified this as reality, then anything that he can do in connection with that gives him oinek. Not because of personal oinek, but because there is oinek l'mayla. In other words, he is recognizing that this is something which in this level of truth finds an oinek element. So he is misanic from that oinek. Again, how is he misanic from that oinek? He's misanic from that oinek because he recognizes that such a truth exists. This is the greatest elevation that he can possibly sense. Like we spoke of yesterday. Just like by Eved in the Odi. And that provides him with an oinek. V'gam, and also hasimcha v'hatainuk b'nafshoy. There is also an element of simcha and tainuk b'nafshoy within his own nefesh. This is already at a different level. This is a personal sense of that. Ma shehu eved malach malcha amlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The fact that he is an abbot of the great king, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mekayim Ritzono Yisborech, and he has the privilege of being Mekayim Ritzono Yesh Bozech Simcha G'doila. Within this conceptualization, there is also a Simcha G'doila. Or K'mei Shekosu B'Mokimach. There's great simcha, great joy in knowing that he's an Eved Melech HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he has a privilege of Mekayim Mitzvah. In other words, there are two separate inyanim. There is the inyan of the simcha shalamaylo, the oinek shalamaylo, that he experiences because he's totally dedicated to this inyan. And also, if he come down from milmato lamaylo, from his own perspective, that he has the simcha and oinek from the fact that he has that privilege to be Mekayim Ratzon Ha'olam. The simcha v'oinek hanal, this simcha and oinek that we described, tzorich liyas ba'aveda, has to be incorporated in avodah. Which means as follows. While that he is in total bittul, and total sense of shiftless, of lowliness, and self-nullification, that his personal experience is totally insignificant. Mikol mokoim, still tzorich liyaz hatainug me'anachas ruach shel hamaylo. There has to be these two inyonim, the tainug from the nachas ruach that there is l'maylo, the gam mizeh shehu evet, and also from the second level that we said that he is the evet. How is this tzorich liyaz hatainug nachas ruach shel hamaylo, the gam mizeh shehu evet, not nullification, not a contradiction to the first principle that we said that he is bitul mishivus l'gamri? So we explained it many times. We'll explain it again. The bitul shiflus, lowliness, personal lowliness, does not reflect a personal bitul or personal shiflus. He is insignificant. That is not where the bitul shiflus comes from. The bitul shiflus comes from recognizing what is the real truth. The Rebbe was okay. And in recognizing the Roimam is Hokeil and focusing in on this is the only thing that's really true, that's real true, that's really has a real presence, and therefore his personal presence loses total significance. This is where the bitul v'shiflus comes from. Because if he is himself is total b'shiflus, his mamish nothing, he will not appreciate the reimus. Okay, where does it come? But it means nothing to him. Like Havdom, a dog does not appreciate reimus. Reimus has to be, because he has such a profound, deep, pure insight of Reimus, this is where his own shiftless becomes his own reality. That the only thing that's really worth living for is the connection to this Reimus. Again, I want to bring the nuance into this, clarify the nuance, because in our world, you immediately translate it in the wrong way. I want to have it. That's not shiftless. I want to have it. That's yeshus. It's wonderful. Oh, I want to have it. It's like you always repeating. You learn about the godly koyach in creating yesh me'ayin. Oh, let me try it. If one says, "Let me try it," he doesn't begin to understand what he's talking about. But this is the mitzvah of the world. Everything is based on me, on the self. Therefore, if I should understand it, that means I should be able to try it. If I can't try it, then that means I don't understand it. This is the way the world works. But here we're talking about a completely different truth. where I have the privilege and being granted a gift to be able to appreciate a truth that is totally beyond me. Nothing to do with my personal experience. And there's no way that I can measure up to it and say I can duplicate this. And why am I interested in it? Because I have been given that neshama, that element of truth, that I want to have the truth, not for personal gain, but because that's where my neshama tends. This is what I'm drawn to. This is the connection to the Roy Musokoya. Not because I understand as a race thing. The Rebbe once, many times when the Rebbe spoke about going out and helping people to appreciate Yiddishkeit, one important ingredient in that approach is that you eliminate the difference between you and this ignoramus. You talk to his neshama. On neshama level, he is perhaps even greater than you are. Knowledge, so that's a minimal thing. So you impart the knowledge that you have done, but you speak to him from a different, not oh look what I know what you don't know. That way you don't have any effect. This is not our approach. This is the similar Inyan. You're not in competition with the neighbors. Saying, you can do that, maybe I can do that too. that's you're completely off track. You don't have a real sense of what the Rebbe is, and you don't have a real sense relating to him and an interest in him. This is a special godly gift in the human being, which is an neshama. And when he becomes very honest with his neshama, then he really wants the truth for its own sake. And he's ready to give everything up, all his worldly gains, to be connected to this truth. This is the first step. So when he has this approach, then his self-nullification does not nullify him. Self-nullification brings out the purest element within him. And his personal gain is totally on our side. That's insignificant. Then he is able to come to the point where he is as a misanek from the Tainik Shalmayim. Because he becomes totally connected to it. This is why he said, Ba'aveda, he can be beaten with Shifus al-Gamri, still tzorich is a Tainik min ha-chesuch Shalmayim. There has to be the Tainik Shalmayim. And there has to be from Tainik from Father Shriz and Evet. That is the moment where you can say, okay, he is really connected. He is one with his master. And is not seeking anything for personal experience, personal gain, nothing. Amiti Zimotz. Okay, now we continue further. Al Pizeh. Now with this, Yuva. Now we can understand Eich She'ef Sheli Yisrotzo Achar Hashuv Hanal. How is it that it's possible that there should be a Rotzu after the Shuv Hanal, the shul that we just now finished explaining before the whole discussion, the shuv. Besides the shuv, the shuv is such that what is the principle of recognition in the shuv, that he wants nothing except to do Ratzon El Kavanah Elyon, because to go down to do Torah mitzvahs for him means nothing. For him, he is much more interested in pursuing an intellectual pursuit of godliness. And he gives it all up because the Ratzon Shel Maila, the Kavanah Shel Maila, is and he should come down in Torah mitzvahs. So he gave it all up. That's a shuv. He completely gave up any personal interest. So how can there be a Ratzon following that? He's got nothing for himself. And the answer is the Reyois. This is the answer. The Reyois shebahashuv yesh gam ken simcha v'tainag hanefesh. That being that within the shuv there is also simcha v'tainag hanefesh. Even though the simcha v'tainag hanefesh is not based on his own nefesh. It's based on his recognition, the simcha, the way it is l'mayla. Even though, as we said, the second element is in his own nefesh, that he is the simcha, the fact that he is an avid of Melech Amlocha B'Kodesh Baruch. This is an element that comes from the nefesh itself. But no matter how much shiflus and beetle there's an element of simcha and tainug hanefesh. Al yidei zeh misoyre benafshei harotzu. Because of this simcha and tainug, this is how the rotzu is reawakened in his nefesh. When he focuses in and says, "What a wonderful thing this is," then the rotzu takes over, and he wants to get more of that, and more of that understanding and that knowledge. This is where the rotzu becomes.
He wants to appreciate the master more.
Right. Being for simcha, that's right. However, it is appreciate or even to know and understand it. Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Harin nos kvidech." Harin nos kvidech. Harin, show me.
Show me.
Harin nos kvidech. The Rambam explains that this is a unique type request, and then Hashem said, "This is what you are asking is impossible." But Moshe Rabbeinu had that desire. After all the Kabbalah Satira, Mitala Zachem, after the second Luchas, Harin nos kvidech. And what did the Rebbe show him then? The Shleisha Semidis. Shleisha Semidis Arachmi.
How does that fit in? Is there
Shleisha Semidis Arachmi are rooted in Atzmos. Okay. Omnam. Okay. So here we concluded explaining the principle of Rotzo B'Shuv, and we, in effect, so to speak, logically showed how after a Rotzo comes a Shuv, and how after the Shuv, no matter how profound, can come a Rotzo. This is all based on the pasuk that says Achayus Rotzu V'Shuv. Now this is how Chayus is recognized in the form of Rotzu V'Shuv. Omno. However, in truth, after all of these explanations, in order to facilitate that there be hiskalus, the inter-inclusion of the Rotzu V'Shuv, meaning that the Rotzu should accommodate for the Shuv, and the Shuv should accommodate for the Rotzu. Where in essence they're opposite from each other. So when you say that there will be a Rotzu V'Shuv, means that the Shuv can recognize and accommodate and accept the Rotzu, and the Rotzu can accommodate for the Shuv. Where in essence they are opposite one the other. The lay mi boy, where for sure beharotzu v'shuv shebebchinas pnimiyis. The rotzu v'shuv that are on the pnimiyus level. Harei eino mevim zeh ezeh. There in Pnimius, the Rotzu V'Shuv, the way it is on the Pnimius, Eino Mevim Zeh Zeh. Right in the onset, when we started talking about Rotzu V'Shuv, we said that Rotzu V'Shuv, they follow one another. It's like an endless kind of a repetitive process, going higher and higher. And in that itself, there are two ways. There is one way that the Rotzu and Shuv are inter-included. In other words, within the Rotzu there is a Shuv, within the Shuv there is an element of Rotzu. And after the Rotzu comes to a certain pinnacle, the Shuv surfaces. And after the Shuv comes to a certain degree of depth, the Rotzu element within the Shuv, this is inter-inclusion. Or another thing where they are really independent realities, but after one comes the other, independently, so to speak. So now we are going to focus in on the Rotzu V'Shuv. We already described what each one is. Now we're going to focus in on the process of how one follows the other, how one allows the other and brings about and allows for the other to surface. And this is where we stopped this morning. And the Mitzvah Shamir, we're going to pursue it further tonight, in the evening, approximately 8:30, 8:40. Okay, at 679 Crown Street. All are welcome.
We don't yet have a sponsor for this Shabbos for bringing.
Here's your phone. Thank you.
And whoever will be the sponsor should give Naftali the money by tomorrow morning.